just said.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hippie Moms Podcast. Today we have Jessica Carew Craft. Welcome, Jessica. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. Oh, this is going to be fun.
It's gonna be so fun. I'm holding her book. So those that are on watching the video, it's Why We Need to Be Wild. One woman's quest for ancient human answers to 21st century problems. Oh my gosh, loved the book. And so, we were talking before the podcast. I'm like, we just need to start recording because we are all, anyone who's listening is on this path back to rewilding. And you wrote a book about it and you had your own experience. And I love how the book, it really talks about your experience. It's so good. It's so interesting. But I love for the listeners to kind of get to know you more. So give us a little overview. How did you get here? Why this book and what led you here?
Yeah. Oh, it's such a journey, right? And I always like to start out introducing myself as saying I'm a mom.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that is most important about me at this stage of my life. And it's the thing that I'm most excited about is raising two daughters who are 14 and 10. And the story really started with my concern over my children and that we were living in tech boom San Francisco. Everything was being digitized. I saw that any effort I made to kind of make community and create genuine bonds for my kids, like starting a dinner co-op or starting a babysitting co-op, was quickly getting replaced by apps. Right. So it was like, well, why should I bother with my neighbors when I can just get this food delivered to my door, or I can just order a babysitter, no need for neighborhood playmates. So I was really disillusioned by that. And at the same time, I was not living in integrity because I was also working in tech and was consulting with Silicon Valley startups, CEOs of new tech companies and venture capitalists, all these folks that I was using my journalism degree to write content for and advise them about how to appear in the media. And also growing incredibly dissatisfied with the world that they kept promoting. And their vision of the future was one where there was an increasing abundance of these apps, right? And that they were going to solve every problem that we have, from earwax to climate change. It was like, there's nothing that tech can't approach. And so I called that like this digital utopianism. And it didn't ring true for me because all of my colleagues and the folks that I was working with and in community with in that ecosystem, right? Hardly an ecosystem, that tech system, they were really unhappy themselves, right? So they were stressed out, overwhelmed, completely addicted to every substance, and it's Silicon Valley. So there were optimizers, brain hackers, folks trying any kind of substance to get an edge over another person. And then, looking on later in life, I saw the older folks were suffering from metabolic diseases, cancer, psychological ailments of all kinds. So it was not a healthy world that they were creating through tech. And even in the process of creating that, they were getting sick and I was getting sick. Measured my vitamin D levels. They were like ridiculously low because I wasn't outside at all. And, found myself super anxious, also trying the substances to keep in balance or keep it all moving. And as a working mom, the pressures on me were extraordinary. And when my kids needed me, I could not make myself available to them. And that was sort of a breaking point for me where I was like, wow, tech is going against all of my natural instincts. And it's not even just tech, it's kind of a lot of aspects of our society where women are forced to work, to earn the income, to afford the real estate, to live in the city where they could raise their children. I mean, it was just like one thing after another, taking us away from our sort of biological blueprint and our programming to be nurturers. And I wanted to go discover folks who had completely given up this dependence on technology. I wanted to find the folks who said, F Facebook, F this lifestyle of decreasing health and decreasing satisfaction in life. And I found folks that, the rewilders, people who are practicing ancient human skills. And while they can't completely escape modern technology and civilization, they can make forays into the wilderness, find themselves in a happier, healthier place, learn the skills that all humans used to know, And what I was particularly interested in was like, well, how do we have families in this space of wilderness, in this space of rewilding ourselves? Because most of the role models that we have on TV, reality shows, the movies, any kind of like fictional story of wilderness adventure, it's usually a man,
Mm,
and he's usually alone, and he, is either like a trained martial arts fighter, or he knows his way around a gun. All these things that I wasn't, that my children aren't, and things that I didn't find very positive. I
mm,
didn't want to join that kind of macho hero culture. And so I was also looking for ways that women, children, families, communities can exist closer to nature. And the book explores all of that, right? It explores the mother angle. It explores the how do we sort of pull back from our dependence on technology, and it shows my life story of doing all of that, and maybe not achieving it to the level of perfect integrity at all, but really asking those deep questions of myself and of these folks who were teaching me ancient human skills. Like, well, how can I live this way? How can I be a human on the earth who knows how to make fire, make shelter, find food, get the water, keep my kids entertained. How
mhm,
can I really do that living today? And
mm,
I hope the book, provides some answers, but mostly I just wanted it to stimulate these thoughts in other folks and give them some courage and confidence that it is possible to retreat from this domesticated, civilized world and find your own peace, find your own health and happiness, and bring your family along.
yes to all of that. Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
There's so much in there that I want to touch on, but it's really, like you said, the blueprint, right, of how we are designed to operate in our body, to feel connected, to feel happy. And it's just so it's not designed to be in where we are today, right? And in this technological world that keeps us indoors in front of screens, kids sitting in desks all day. But what are we meant for? So what is that blueprint? Like, through your experience, tell us, what is it that blueprint actually consists of? That what are we
Right.
all yearning for, right? Because we're all yearning for something, right? That awakens us. But what is that? What are we truly yearning for? What is it?
Good. I love that question. I'm going to come at this slightly academically because
Perfect.
I have a background in anthropology. You've read the book, right? I include a lot of what we call ethnography, which are studies of different cultures, traditional cultures, hunter gatherers who are still living on the land as they did maybe 50,000 to 100,000 years ago. And anthropology, as the study of these other cultures, looks at the long scope of human history and not just how do we function today in culture, but rather how we evolved. So it's very much based in evolutionary science and the fact that we, from what the science tells us, we did evolve from primates, right? We were all apes like 5 to 6 million years ago, and then there were deviations from that in the genetic code that then led to us being able to walk upright. We left the trees. We started being able to eat meat, manufacture weapons, live in communities, rather than off on our own like a wolf or like a mother bear, etc.
Mhm.
So all of these different biological evolutionary mechanisms shaped how Homo sapiens, that's our species, how we evolved and how we thrive in nature, right? So when you think about everything on the planet that you can see in the environment does have these evolutionary processes, has the natural selection, has response and adaptation to their environment. And humans have that, and we have it for every single aspect of our lives. It's not just our digestive system or how we take in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. It's also how we parent, how we raise children. It's how we socially organize. It's how we form, kind of political alliances. All of that was determined by evolutionary selection. And what we look at as anthropologists is okay, so there were like a couple of huge events that changed the course of Homo sapiens lifestyle on the planet, right? So for maybe 300,000 years, Homo sapiens were living as hunter gatherers. So
Mhm.
finding all of their food, all of their needs, anything they could possibly use for survival or celebration, raising families, That's all coming from directly from the environment. And they're living in small groups that are nomadic. So they're traveling around different camps according to what's available in the environment. What do they need at that time? So it's a finely honed system of nomadic hunting and gathering. We did that, for hundreds of thousands of years, like I'm saying. And so then we have this point of deviation, which is the development of agriculture. And we can take that back to like 10,000 years ago, which is very, very short period of time in the longevity of human history. And agriculture then stops that nomadic hunter-gatherer life for many of the people practicing it on Earth. Now, there still are hunter-gatherers. There still are folks who haven't joined this industrial centralized civilization, right? And a lot of people know them as uncontacted tribes. But you're saying, what is our blueprint? Our blueprint, all of us as Homo sapiens, is to live as a nomadic hunter-gatherer. And it's basically uncontestable. Like, this is what the science says. This is what we can see in existing hunter-gatherer groups. And we know that we deviated from that just a short time ago, 10,000 years, when we began agriculture. And then civilizations, or these settlements, started arising. And the settlements lead to basically what I view as every single negative and detrimental aspect of society that we have today. So it means hierarchy. We're no longer equal. We're no longer sharing all of our resources. Some people are hoarding them and using that power to exploit other people, right? So hunter-gatherers do not exploit each other. They do not exploit other groups. This is how we evolved, is to be self-sufficient and egalitarian, to respect the equality of the other people in our group. So we have, over the last 10,000 years, developed all of these negative attributes, including slavery, including patriarchy, including our economic system, which keeps so many people oppressed, keeps them unable to access the resources that we all used to get free from the environment. And so if we understand this blueprint, right, and we go and study it, we go and understand what it is like to live as a hunter-gatherer, then we can start to critique our own position in society and our own ways of operating in this civilization. And it allows us just kind of this safety net, like, oh, I know, at heart, I am a nomadic, bipedal, female hominid. And what is going to make me most happy is to be outside with other people, with my family, with my children, doing the tasks of everyday life. And for me to discover that and to share that and to see other people acting on it, was just the most inspiring thing that has ever happened to me. And so I felt like, oh, I gotta write about this. I need more people to understand this. I need community of folks who want to live more in accordance with the hunter-gatherer blueprint. And that's now my mission, right? Is to try to move my life closer to that and help others understand it. And I'll never get there. I will not be a hunter-gatherer in this lifetime. It's impossible because I was born into this society and my brain is pickled.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? That's so beautiful that you end with that, because in that moment, because it's not about being perfection. I mean, it's not about being, perfect in this lifestyle of going back to hunter-gatherer. I mean, there has to be a bridge, and I think for all the listeners, we are also we're in the settlements, we're in the system, but how do we make steps to get back? Because we know what's going on right now is not working. People are sick, right? It's insane. We know it's not working. So we're creating a new earth. And in order to do that, in order to move ourselves towards more balance, what are just some of the things that you found in your life that, oh, well, I did this. Oh, and then I did something like this. And this kind of helped, because it's all about baby steps, right? We just need to start taking steps back to ourselves and our how we're meant to live. So what are some of those steps so we can start along our path?
I love this idea of starting with the baby steps, because I would say take those baby steps barefoot, right? That's that's one of the first things you can do, is just regain a sense that all of us used to have, which is that we used to feel the world through our feet. And like I said, I'll never be a hunter-gatherer. My feet will never be the sensory organs that they could have been if I had been walking barefoot my whole life. But I started going barefoot, like, I guess 2011. So about 12 years ago, transitioned, from wearing coffins on my feet, like most of us do, that just completely deaden this sensory organ that we have.
Wow.
And yeah,
Wow.
and started running and walking either in barefoot shoes or actually without socks and shoes on. And, what that has done to my sense of balance, my ability to navigate, change the musculature of my legs, so I feel like I'm sort of more in alignment with how humans traditionally walk and run. So that's a great way to start. And, it could just be really simple. Like if there's a moment you're outside and you feel like it, take off your shoes, walk around, try to invigorate that sense again. So baby steps, take them barefoot, get outside more often, so like you and I were discussing, how should I do the Zoom call? And I was like, well, I should just be outside.
Yeah.
And that's usually the way I do interviews and connect with people, is like, trying to find a way to get that vitamin D on my face, which I'm getting right now, get the wind, the bird song. And I happen, I'm really lucky. I have access to natural space. I live in the woods, right? And I know most people don't. There's something like 82% of the population lives in urban areas now. So that is a complete privilege that I have, and that I like to share with others. I'm always inviting people out to my place. But even getting outside in an urban area does confer those benefits of the vitamin D, the fresh air, depending on the place you are, you can seek out fresh air, contact with living beings, whether it's just a tree on the street or a bird in that tree or a caterpillar on the sidewalk. Local parks, like in the US, we've done a great job of preserving a lot of natural spaces, which we could do a lot more in terms of accessibility to them, but they are available in almost every urban area. So that idea, get outside, get barefoot. The next level, I think, is to really understand your ecosystem and where you're living, the place, the plants, the animals, the soil, the rocks, the geology. So getting, for folks who are kind of brainy like that, reading a book about local ecology, getting a field guide so that when you do see that bird in the tree, you can figure out what it is, learn its song, understand its migration patterns. For me, becoming a naturalist, like taking the extra step to get myself sort of officially educated in the field of natural history and ecology, was very eye-opening, and allowed lots of opportunities for like field trips and understanding where I was at that point in the East Bay, California. So I always encourage people to get curious about nature. And then everything that you recommend on this show, I think, is a great way. You had the recent podcast about, was it eight? It was 8 vital practices.
Yeah, the foundation. Yeah,
right.
Ancient. Yes, foundations of human health. Yes.
Yeah, and I think when I listen to your show and I hear the recommendations that you're making for people's health and well-being, and creating practices of wellness, like all of that is getting closer to our human nature, our nature as those socially connected beings. And so, yeah, I think you're doing a wonderful job with reconnecting.
Well, thank you. It takes a tribe, right? It takes, like, we all are doing our part. And what's so cool is we're mothers, and the love and care of our children is truly the fuel for us creating a new world. And I don't think the guys have figured it out. No offense. I mean, come on. There's a new energy moving in. There really is. It's a nurturing, it's a more feminine energy. And I really, we have to slow down. We have to get back to ourselves, because we're searching outside in this whole, pills and apps and all the things that are going to fix us, but it's just an illusion. And so we have to almost be willing to, like, shut that down and come home. And and what I love is, and that's what nature does. Nature harmonizes us. That's our truest environment that we thrive in. And so when we're there, we start to see clearly. We start to get better perspectives. It's like we're given more of a space to pray and connect back to the divinity that we are. So, and if you see, the world's trying to take us away from that, and we have to say, that's, we got to get back. And so everything that you're standing for, that you write about in this book, and one of the things I really want to bring up is this idea, which I think is going to tie this together, is the idea of attention restoration. right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
that in itself is really the key to getting us back to health, is where we're putting our attention. And we're just so, and I loved that idea. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah. Well, that came from a couple of studies that were done, I believe, by scientists Rachel and Stephen Kaplan. And they were studying how, sort of frontal lobe cognitive functioning is really improved after time in nature. And they named it like attention restoration. So, this idea that you are less likely to be distracted, you can focus better, you have more creativity, you're kind of more insightful. I mean, I find that too. Like just going on a walk in the woods gives me so many ideas, and I like to try to pay attention and be present in the moment. But if I do sort of go on that wandering internal journey, it's so much more pleasant to do that when I'm immersed in nature rather than walking on a city street. And I think there were related studies that proved that like, okay, if you're going to take a walk, try to expose yourself to as much green as possible, because it is going to have more beneficial effects on your brain. And it's the basis of like forest bathing, right? And the Japanese practice of, you have this therapeutic experience available to you to go out into the woods or to go into whatever natural area. For you, it would be the desert,
Yeah.
and the sagebrush and the cactus and your Sonoran ecosystem. And so everybody's got a different place that they live, but that place is meant to restore your attention. It's meant to bring you back to yourself. And then there are applications of this, right? Like, so many studies have been done on kids and adults with ADHD, and how by, allowing them to play freely or exist in nature for a couple hours a day, sees a decrease in their symptoms. And also, kind of shows the benefits of the ADD or ADHD brain, which is that when you're on high alert, you are very mindful, you're very present, you're noticing things that are going on, which is, as we know from mindfulness studies, that's a healthier way to perceive and be in the world, is to be alert, to be noticing it. So this idea of, attention restoration, I think is so important for a cultural moment right now.
Yeah.
Right. When there's the constant scrolling, you're exposed to, I don't know, like 5 to 10,000 ads every day. There's so much pulling for your eyeballs and your clicks and your credit card.
Yeah.
And so it takes a lot of self-discipline, and it takes that deep understanding, like, oh, they're manipulating me.
Yeah.
This is not genuinely what is good for me or what I want. I'm just simply being dragged along into this world of commerce. Yeah.
And we feel that. We feel it. It's the same feeling when you get done scrolling and you're like, ugh. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel good for a reason, and so I think, and really we are in this age and time where there is so much coming at us. There's so many distractions. And truly what I've learned is we have to do the opposite of everything that's happening in this societal world. You do the opposite. So instead of going out and trying to, grasp, we go in and we focus, we go in nature, we surround ourselves in quiet, we lay under the stars, the moon, we get back to that of who we really are. And it's like, we just, and this, what I think we're doing, Jessica, is we're helping people remember. Like you have everything you need inside of you. Yeah. You already have it. You just have to go in. And in order to go in, we can go into nature. And that's when we get out of those distractions. And so you're just pulling people home. That's what you're doing.
Love it. Oh, that's great. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is so amazing. So my friends, I highly recommend the book. It's really entertaining. And, and then maybe if you email Jessica and ask her about what happens at the end with her and her friend, I'm not going to give it away, but it's so great. I loved it. And you know what, one thing I just wanted to say, there was a moment where you were in one of your adventures and you were looking at the bugs and you realized, like, I'm happy. Like it was this moment where you had felt like it was something you'd never experienced before. Can you just talk to that real quick before we wrap it up? Because I think it's so beautifully encompasses what we're getting at here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, there were a couple of moments in the book where I was just like, whoa, by following my instincts and getting into nature and learning skills that are self-sufficient, helping me be a human on earth again and not be dependent on all the industry. Right. Where I was just like, what? I'm actually happy. It was incredible. So the moment you're talking about, I was doing a week-long wilderness survival immersion, and the participants were sent out to do a sit spot, which is a great practice if people don't know about that. But it's, you kind of choose a spot in nature. And once your disturbance bubble has dissipated, which is like, okay, you're moving, you're making noise, you have a scent. But once you sit down and you are now kind of camouflaged in the environment, all these creatures kind of come out, or you're able to focus your restored attention on the ecology around you. And so I noticed this series of amazing bugs. There were ants crawling around me, and then there were these bugs on a cottonwood tree. And just realizing that I could be fascinated by insects, right? Like a kid, like a 3 or 4 year old. When I thought, oh, no, I'm only fascinated when I'm reading like a, page turning novel or watching Netflix, the latest hit. But to realize that I was truly fascinated on a deep, nourishing level by watching these natural creatures do their thing and getting curious and having wonder about them and wanting to go look them up, right? Just to have that satisfaction of the restored attention, leading to me feeling content and getting that dopamine rush of, wow, I'm seeing this new thing and it's totally surprising and amazing to me. So that's available to anybody to do a sit spot, to go out into nature, to just slow down, focus on what's around you and get fascinated. And it is one of the most nourishing and fun things you can do.
Yes. And you have to like break through that boredom, right? Because we're so used, again, to be distracted, to be entertained all the time. You've got to push through that boredom, like, oh, this is uncomfortable. But what's on the other side of that is that quiet connection. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to find a sit spot next time I'm in nature. And I'm going to wait for the creatures to come to me. I'm so excited.
Yes. Oh, and it will happen. I mean, everybody who does it, magical stuff, like a hummingbird coming and like resting in your hair, or, butterflies landing on your knees. Like it's really magical. If you're there bringing your positive, high vibe energy, like you have, like, I think it's just going to be fairies leaping out of the trees at you.
I have seen some crazy things. I'm not going to say in nature, like truly, truly.
Yeah.
Jessica, thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, this is great. I feel really aligned with you and your vision. And it's just so comforting to know that there's other people thinking like me and that we could form a community and we could share ideas like this.
Always, always. I'm here for it. I would love to have you as, a regular guest, and we can talk about the things that you're learning. I would love to also talk about survival skills and what even go deeper into what you've learned on your journey. But I think this is a really good, just an opportunity for the listeners to get to know you, to read the book, and to start to see where you are on your journey, and to know there's no perfect place we're going to end up. It's the process. It's the process that we're experiencing, and we're just moving ourselves towards something. So what are we moving towards? And I know I'm moving back towards Mother Nature and true health, in mind, body, soul. And we're all coming together. We're linking arms and walking together, right?
Yes, across this digital divide, I feel it.
I know. And you know
great.
What?
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm grateful for technology in a way that we can use it in a good way to get the message out. And I'm going to put a link to your website and also to get the book. And so if anyone wants to connect with Jessica, you'll have the links in the show notes. So thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. You're welcome. All right, everyone. We'll catch you on the next Hippie Moms podcast. Bye.